Coming to the Northern Plains. Continue reading on X0VL. You're too weak. Yili looked at Ling Shui indifferently. Ling Shui was stunned. She was a Tier 3 transcender. To ordinary genetic warriors, she was definitely an insurmountable mountain. However, she knew that in front of Yili, a heaven-grade transcender was really pitifully weak. How about this? It'll help you increase your cultivation level. You can be the master of the first batch of disciples, Yili said slowly. Ling Shui could not help but be stunned when she heard that. She looked at Yili in shock. Improve her cultivation level. She felt that even if she racked her brains, she would not be able to think of how to improve her realm. Yili handed Ling Shui a bottle of medicine. Drink it. Ling Shui looked at the potion in Yili's hand in shock. What's this? Just drink it. Why are you talking so much nonsense? Ling Shui didn't dare to continue asking. She could only take the medicine from Yili's hand and force herself to drink it. How is this possible? Ling Shui was suddenly shocked. She actually felt signs of a breakthrough. Then, she hurriedly sat cross-legged on the ground and began to refine the medicine in her body. A moment later, Ling Shui's face was filled with joy. I've broken through to the chosen one of Tier 1. Ling Shui looked at Yili in surprise. It's all right. Yili's face was as calm as water. The potion that allowed Ling Shui to break through to become a chosen one was naturally bought by Yili in the Point Mall. His current points were frighteningly high, but the highest was the potion that allowed genetic warriors to break through to become a chosen one. At this moment, there were no words that could describe the excitement in Ling Shui's heart. She suddenly had a feeling that Yili was an omnipotent person. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining a super treasure map. The system's voice suddenly appeared in Yili's mind. Yili smiled faintly and showed a playful smile on his face. Without thinking too much, he activated the super treasure map. The coordinates appeared in Yili's mind. It was actually Northern Plains. Ling Shui, I'll leave the operation of the Demon King Palace to you. They will protect the safety of the Demon King Palace. Yili looked at Ling Shui. With that, Yili looked at Ada. Alta, follow me to the Northern Plains. Ada nodded, and Yili and Ada disappeared from the hall. Northern Plains. The most terrifying place in the Mystic Land. There was the strongest dark race in the Mystic Land, the Tyrant Whale Silver Sun Tiger race. When Yili and Ada arrived in the Northern Plains was simply too big, many times bigger than the Wasteland Zone. Roar! Roar! As soon as they arrived in the Northern Plains, they heard the roars of countless zombies. Hundreds of zombies rushed towards Yili and Ada. Kill him. Yili said slowly. Roar! Ada roared and threw a punch. This punch was simply invincible. Hundreds of zombies were instantly wiped out by the terrifying fist wind. The coordinates disappeared again. Yili was a little stunned. This had happened before, but it was a long time ago. Now that the coordinates had disappeared, everything could only rely on luck. Can someone save me? One don't want to die. Boo-hoo, one really don't want to die. Suddenly, Yili heard the sound of crying. Yili looked in the direction of the voice and saw a girl in her 20s crying. She looked very sad. Huh? Yili thought that there were humans in the Northern Plains. He felt that it was a good idea to go over and ask. He immediately walked towards the girl with Ada. Chapter 722 Senior, I know you're a good person. Continue reading on X0VL. I really don't want to die. One really don't want to die. The girl was crying like a pear blossom in the rain. She was as sad as she could be. Yili and Ada had already arrived in front of the girl, but the girl was completely unaware. Don't cry, Yili said calmly. The sudden voice entered the girl's ears. The girl was so frightened that her entire body trembled. She raised her head in shock. However, when she raised her head, the girl could not help but be stunned. She dared to swear that she had never seen such a handsome man. She did not know that there was such a good-looking man in this world. She looked at Yili in a daze. Oh, this man's eyes were bright like stars. The girl even had a feeling that after looking into Yili's eyes, she would never forget his eyes. They were as quiet as the night, as deep as the sea. Why, you're humans? The girl came back to her senses and looked at Yili and Ada in horror. Yili smiled. 1 a.m., but he isn't. The girl was stunned when she heard this because she really didn't understand what Yili meant. What do you mean? Don't you understand such simple logic? He's a zombie. Yili spoke slowly to the girl. As soon as these words were spoken, the girl could not help but fall to the ground in fear. Yili was amused. He thought that this girl was quite interesting. She was even a Tier 5 evolved being. You, how could the girl say a complete sentence? She looked at Yili and Ada in shock. There's nothing to be afraid of. Tell me your name. Yili looked at the girl calmly. My name is Chin Tian. The girl swallowed her saliva and replied. Yili's handsome face was as calm as water. What a terrible name. Tell me, why did a human like you appear here? If you can attract me, Yili, one might consider saving your life, Yili said slowly. Chen Tian's pupils constricted rapidly, as if she had grabbed onto a life-saving straw. She hurriedly said to Yili, so that's what happened. Yili nodded. I see. Chen Tian was the daughter of the Northern Plains Chen family's head. Because their grand elder usurped the throne, a huge battle broke out between the family head's faction and the grand elder's faction. However, the grand elder had teamed up with a dark race member, and the family head's lineage had suffered a crushing defeat. Only Chen Tian managed to escape. Senior, I know you're a good person. Please save me. Chen Tian looked at Yili pleadingly. Yili naturally understood the look in Chen Tian's eyes. He knew that people like Chen Tian did not live for themselves, but for revenge. Unfortunately, as a Tier 5 evolved being, there was nothing she could do. Sure, but I, Yili, am not a good person, Yili said calmly. Chen Tian was shocked. There was endless shock in her heart. She thought that such a good person actually said that she was not a good person. Could it be that powerhouses had always been so humble? Let's go. Bring Ada and me to your family. Yili looked at Chen Tian. When Chen Tian heard this, she was scared out of her wits. Senior, the Chen family belongs to the Grand Elder now. It will be dangerous if we go. Dangerous? Yili smiled. He felt that Chen Tian was really interesting. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, a cold laugh entered their ears. Chen Tian, I've finally found you. There's no way out for you today. Chapter 723 Believe it or not, I can show you their bodies. Continue reading on X0VL. Yili looked in the direction of the voice and saw dozens of genetic warriors rushing over. All of them looked ugly. The dozens of genetic warriors were all evolved beings of different levels. The leader was a 10th tier evolved being. Suddenly, dozens of genetic warriors surrounded them. They're from the Grand Elder's faction. Chen Tian's fair face turned pale. Chen Tian, why aren't you running anymore? The 10th tier evolved being looked at Chen Tian smugly. Oh, so they're your helpers? The 10th tier evolved being looked at Yili and Ada with disdain. Chen Tian glared at the 10th tier evolved being and said coldly, Chen Er, what do you want? One don't want anything. I just want to capture you and let the Grand Elder deal with you. Chen Er was a 10th tier evolved being. When Chen Tian heard this, she looked at Yili and Ada, but she realized that there was no change in their expressions at all, as if nothing had happened. Why did you appear? Yili looked at Chen Er indifferently. Chen Er was stunned. He didn't expect Yili to still be able to speak at this time. Brat, you can still be so calm. Interesting. Chen Er looked at Yili disdainfully. Yili shook his head slightly and said slowly, do you know that you are like ants in front of me? Ha ha ha. When the genetic warriors from the Chen family's Grand Elders faction heard Yili's words, they all laughed out loud, as if they had never heard such a funny joke. What are you laughing at? Yili looked at Chen Er in confusion. I'm laughing at you for overestimating yourself. You still dare to spout nonsense when you're about to die. I, Chen Er, only need one finger to make you unable to live or die. Chen Er looked at Yili very proudly. Yili secretly sighed. Why were there always so many ants in front of him? Was it really not good to be alive? Since they didn't want to be alive, he would fulfill their wish. Do you believe that I can let you see their bodies in 1 second? Yili looked at Chen Er indifferently. Chen Er's expression changed when he heard this. He gritted his teeth and looked at Yili coldly. He had never seen such an arrogant person. Brat, why are you still so arrogant at this point? Are you really not afraid of death? Chen Er roared at Yili. Yili smiled lightly. His handsome face was very calm. It seems like you don't believe me. Yili looked at Chen Er playfully. One don't believe it. I would rather believe that the sky has collapsed than believe it. Chen Er said proudly. As the saying went, heaven may forgive those who make mistakes unwittingly, but those who deliberately create their own misfortune cannot be saved. However, Yili slowly raised his index finger. On his index finger, an extremely terrifying white spiritual light began to wrap around it. Suddenly, the finger fell. Swish! 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 Dozens of terrifying white spiritual lights flew out at a shocking speed. Ah! In an instant, countless screams sounded. What? When Chen Er saw this, his eyes widened for the biggest time in history as he looked at this bloody scene in horror. Do you believe what I, Yili, said now? Yili looked at Chen Er calmly. Chen Er was already scared out of his wits. How could he say a complete sentence? 724 Chen family continue reading on X0 VL. Chen Er looked at Yili in horror. He dared to swear that he had never been so afraid since he was born. Dozens of genetic warriors instantly died tragically. He couldn't believe it. He really couldn't believe it. Are you very scared? Yili looked at Chen Er calmly. Chen Er was shocked and looked at Yili in shock. Of course, he was afraid. Anyone would be afraid of such a scene. As for Chen Tian, she was frozen on the spot like a clay statue. Her eyes were wide open, and her mouth was so wide that it could fit an extra-large bowl. She had previously guessed that Yili was a genetic warrior and that his realm was definitely higher than his. However, she did not expect him to be such a terrifying genetic warrior. Actually, one have a way to make you not afraid, Yili said slowly to Chen Er. What method? Chen Er looked at Yili in shock. He guessed that Yili wanted to let him go. Only when he let him go, he wouldn't be afraid. Unfortunately, Chen Er would never have thought that Yili would say such a thing. In this world, good people will be afraid, and so will bad people. There's only one kind of person who won't be afraid, and that's the dead. Upon hearing this, Chen Er's pupils constricted as he looked at Yili in horror. He was about to beg for mercy, but he would never have the chance to do so because a shocking bloody hole had appeared on his forehead. Humans. Yili looked at Chen Er's body and shook his head slowly. When Chen Tian saw this, her heart was already in turmoil. Senior, Chen Tian looked at Yili carefully. If she was very careful when Yili wanted to go to the Chen family, she was not worried at all now. It was because she had never seen such a terrifying attack since she was born. Let's go. Yili said lightly. Chen Er nodded. Then, she brought Yili and Ada to the Chen family. Yili thought that now that the coordinates had disappeared, he could only take it one step at a time. A few hours later, Yili, Alta, and Chen Tian arrived outside a city wall. The city wall was surrounded by mountains, and there were countless zombies and dark race members. "Senior, this is the Chen family," Chen Tian looked at Yili and said. Yili looked at the city wall in front of him, looking bored. "Let them open the door." Yili looked at Chen Tian. Chen Tian looked at Yili gratefully. She knew that Yili wanted to avenge her. If she really succeeded, she was willing to be Yili's slave. The dozens of genetic warriors on the city wall looked down and were immediately stunned. "Is that Missy?" a tier for evolved being asked. "That's right. Chen Tian. Open the door now." Chen Tian shouted coldly. Now, the entire Chen family was controlled by the Grand Elder's faction. Everyone from the family head's faction had already died. How could the genetic warriors on the city wall not know that the Grand Elder was pursuing Chen Tian? What they did not expect was that Miss actually came back personally. Wasn't this equivalent to walking into a trap? "Open the city gate," a genetic warrior shouted. Then, the city gate opened. "Senior, let's go in." Chen Tian looked at Yili, Yili nodded and the few of them walked in slowly. Das aura had already been concealed by Yili. The Chen family's genetic warriors naturally couldn't tell that Alta was a zombie. 725 Grand Elder of the Chen family continue reading on X0 VL. After the few of them completely entered, a group of genetic warriors immediately rushed up. "Miss, I didn't expect you to walk right into a trap." A sixth-tier evolved being sneered at Chen Tian. Chen Tian was about to speak when Yili spoke first. "Take me to your family head," Yili said slowly. The dozen or so genetic warriors were stunned when they heard this. They looked at Yili in shock. "Brat, who are you?" The sixth-tier evolved being looked at Yili coldly. Yili smiled and looked at the sixth-tier evolved being. "I'll say it again. Bring me to see your master. Don't make me say it a third time." As soon as these words were spoken, the dozen or so genetic warriors were furious. This was the Chen family's territory. "I understand. You're the helper that Missy found?" The sixth-tier evolved being's face became playful. He sized up Yili and Ada and realized that Yili and Erda were much better looking than him. It was like the difference between heaven and earth. "Young miss, you've only found 2 people and you still want revenge?" The dozen or so genetic warriors couldn't help but laugh because they found it too funny. Yili smiled again. "I've already given you a chance to live, but why don't you cherish it?" As soon as he finished speaking, Ada roared and the wind from his fist flashed. Before the dozen or so genetic warriors could even scream, they all fell to the ground with grievances. "Let's go," Yili said slowly. The higher-ups of the Chen family were naturally familiar with such a commotion. Before long, countless genetic warriors surrounded them. "Who dares to barge into my Chen family?" A slightly old and energetic voice entered Yili's ears. An old man around 70 years old with a dignified aura appeared in Yili's vision. Behind him were 10 transceivers. Yili could easily guess that the old man was the Grand Elder of the Chen family and the current head of the Chen family. "Tianer, you're back." The Grand Elder pretended to be excited, but in fact, someone had already informed him. The Grand Elder's name was Chen Shan, a 7th-tier transcender. "Grand Elder, you colluded with the Wind Wolf tribe and slaughtered so many disciples of our sect. How ruthless." Chen Tian glared at Yili. To Chen Tian, she had a deep feud with Chen Shan. "Tianer, since ancient times, winners are kings and losers are bandits. Since you've walked right into the trap, do you think you can still live?" Chen Shan looked at Chen Tian smugly. Yili listened to Chen Tian and Chen Shan's conversation and shook his head secretly. Even if the enemy was powerful, my response to their provocations was as indifferent as the hill facing the passing breeze, and as serene as the great river beneath the shining moonlight. However, Yili thought that this had nothing to do with the current situation. Why did he think of such a thing? You are the grand elder of the Qin family, right? Yili suddenly asked. Qin Shan was stunned. He did not expect Yili to suddenly speak. He sized Yili up and replied, that's right. I'm the grand elder of the Qin family. You are. My name is Yili, one don't like you. You can leave, Yili said calmly. What? The disciples of the Qin family were all shocked when they heard this. They had never seen such an arrogant person like Yili. He could do this even when surrounded by hundreds of people. They had never even heard of such a person, let alone seen him. 726 The Might of Ah Das Punch. Continue reading on Zenvel. Qin Shan stared at Yili. He was the same. He had never seen someone as arrogant as Yili. Yili, do you know that you are about to die? Qin Shan shouted coldly. The martial artists of the Qin family also looked at Yili angrily. Die? Why would I, Yili, die? Don't tell me it's just because of you ants. Yili's handsome face was filled with mockery. Arrogant brat. Qin Shan roared angrily. This was the first time he had been so angry since he was born. I'll say it again. Are you leaving or not? Yili looked at Qin Shan. Old Qin Shan's face was extremely cold as he stared at Yili. Brat, what if I don't leave? Yili smiled. It's nothing more than death. Silence, a deathly silence. Their Qin family had never been challenged like this before. Ha ha ha. Qin Shan suddenly laughed out loud. Interesting, very interesting. Yili, I really admire you. You can actually keep calm in such a condition. Qin Shan looked at Yili disdainfully. Yili shook his head slightly. He didn't understand. He really didn't understand. Why didn't ants know that they were ants? Alda, go. Yili looked at Ada and spoke slowly with a heavy heart. Following Yili's order, Ada used the heaven-grade skill, True Fire Domineering Fist. What kind of words could describe the power of this punch? Boom! In an instant, the sky and earth shook, and space cracked. Impossible! This is absolutely impossible! Qin Shan shouted. He would rather believe that the sky had collapsed than believe that it was true. However, the truth was so. Fi had to believe it even if he didn't want to. Yili looked at Qin Shan indifferently. You seem to be very scared. When Qin Shan heard this, his soul left his body. He came back to his senses. At this moment, there was only one thought in his mind, and that was to escape. In the blink of an eye, Qin Shan started running at the fastest speed he could reach. Even if you have a good plan, I don't have a way to deal with it. Even if you, Qin Shan, are Monkey King, you will not be able to escape from the Buddha's palm. Swish! With the appearance of a wind-breaking sound, Qin Shan's life would disappear from this world forever. Yili's expression remained unchanged as if nothing had happened. Thud! Suddenly, Qin Tian knelt in front of Yili. Senior, thank you for avenging me. 1. Qin Tian, am willing to be your slave. Tears streamed down Qin Tian's face, but she looked at Yili with determination. Yili looked at Qin Tian and felt very bored. Get up. No one wants you to be a slave. When Qin Tian heard this, she stood up from the ground, her fair face filled with gratitude. Yili looked at the sun in the sky and couldn't help but sigh. He didn't know when he would be able to find the treasure on the super treasure map. Senior, can you take me in? It could be said that the Qin family was gone now. Qin Tian did not even know where she would go in the future. Yili was stunned. He looked at Qin Tian and thought to himself that it was not a big deal giving her a helping hand. It was not a bad idea to find a disciple for the Demon King Palace. Yili replied, all right. When Qin Tian heard this, her fair face instantly lit up with joy. Thank you, senior. Thank you, senior. Qin Tian looked at Yili, woo-woo. Suddenly, countless terrifying voices entered their ears. 727 Wind Wolf Tribe continue reading on Zenvel. Following the terrifying roar, a group of dark race members appeared in Yili's field of vision. This group of dark races was a group of wind wolves, and they were all Tier 1 master-level dark race members. It's the Wind Wolf Tribe. Qin Tian gritted her teeth and said. Grand Elder Qin Shan had colluded with the Wind Wolf Tribe to annihilate the family head's lineage. Tell Qin Shan to come and see me. A Tier 1 master-level wind wolf stared at them and shouted. The wind wolves were all wolf-headed humanoids. Their bodies were strong, looking terrifying. Qin Shan is dead, Yili said slowly. What? The dozen or so Tier 1 master-level wind wolves were all a little stunned. A few seconds later, a Tier 1 wind wolf stared at Yili and asked coldly, who killed him? It's me, Yili said frankly. As soon as these words were spoken, the dozen or so Tier 1 master-level wind wolves were shocked and looked at Yili in shock. You killed Qin Shan. The Tier 1 master-level wind wolf seemed to not believe Yili at all. Yili smiled faintly. That's right. If you don't want to die, tell me the purpose of your trip. When these Tier 1 wind wolves heard these words, they all became incomparably furious. Human, we are the Wind Wolf Tribe. Have you eaten a bear's heart or a leopard's gall? You actually dare to say such words to us? A Tier 1 master-level wind wolf roared angrily. Let me ask you one more time. What is the purpose of your trip? Don't make me repeat myself a third time, Yili said frankly. More than a dozen Tier 1 master-level wind wolves were furious to the extreme, and all of them glared at Yili. Human, you're courting death. Immediately after, a Tier 1 master-level wind wolf pounced towards Yili. However, when this Tier 1 master-level wind wolf was still in mid-air, it was blasted into pieces by Ada's fist. The scene was gruesome. How is this possible? The remaining dozen or so Tier 1 master-level wind wolves cried out in alarm. They really could not believe that this was real. Who else wants to attack me, Yili? Yili glanced indifferently at the dozen wind wolves in front of him. More than a dozen Tier 1 master-level wind wolves were already scared silly. A Tier 1 master-level dark race member had been smashed into pieces by a single punch. This was not as simple as being blasted to death, he was blasted into pieces. How much strength did he have to be able to do this? Yili smiled. He looked indifferently at a Tier 1 wind wolf. Tell me the purpose of your trip. This Tier 1 wind wolf looked at Yili in shock, but then his look became resolute again. He stared at Yili and said, and if I don't? As soon as this Tier 1 master-level wind wolf finished speaking, he let out a blood-curdling scream. His life would disappear from this world forever. Yili smiled lightly. His handsome face was very calm. Are you guys not going to tell me either? Yili looked at the Wind Wolf Tribe members in front of him. These Tier 1 master-level wind wolves had never seen such a terrifying human before. They were already scared out of their wits, knowing that if they didn't tell the truth, they would lose their lives. Honorable Lord, a purple light appeared in Spectre Forest yesterday. A shocking spiritual treasure might appear, so we, the Wind Wolf Tribe, are preparing to join forces with the Qin family to go to Spectre Forest together. A Tier 1 master-level wind wolf said to Yili in shock. Yili was secretly shocked. A shocking spiritual treasure. The super treasure map. At the thought of this, Yili's handsome face couldn't help but show a playful smile. He always got what he wanted. Honorable Lord, we don't want other factions to find the treasure, so we allied with the Qin family and prepared to destroy the Qin family after finding the treasure, another Tier 1 master-level wind wolf also said to Yili. 728 The tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger tribe appears. Continue reading on Zenvel. Yili listened to the wind wolf tribe's words and thought that there had never been any real friends in this world. There were only benefits. You are telling me so much just to survive, right? Yili looked at the wind wolf tribe members. When the dozen or so Tier 1 master-level wind wolves heard this, their eyes immediately lit up. They naturally knew that Yili was prepared to let them go. Unfortunately, they had miscalculated. Do you really think that I, Yili, will let you live? What? As soon as these words were spoken, the dozen or so Tier 1 master-level wind wolves all turned pale with fright. Even if they used all their strength, they would never have thought that Yili would say such words. Human, are you going back on your word? A Tier 1 master-level wind wolf glared at Yili. Yili smiled faintly and his handsome face became playful. I, Yili, have never said that I will spare your lives, Yili said calmly. More than 10 Tier 1 master-level wind wolves were enraged when they heard this, looking like they were going to fight Yili to the death. Unfortunately, how could they be Yili's match? Roar! More than 10 Tier 1 master-level wind wolves roared and pounced towards Yili and the others. Erda, Yili called out to Ada boom. With a boom, more than 10 Tier 1 master-level wind wolves instantly died. Let's go. Yili said slowly. He was naturally not interested in these wind wolf tribe members. What he was interested in was the shocking spiritual treasure in Spectre Forest. Do you know where Spectre Forest is? Yili looked at Qin Tian. Qin Tian nodded and told Yili the location of Spectre Forest. The group began to head towards Spectre Forest. Outside Spectre Forest. At this moment, hundreds of genetic warriors had already gathered. These genetic warriors were all from powerful families in the northern plains. In the north of the northern plains, there weren't many dark races. Only the Wind Wolf tribe was the strongest. However, the Wind Wolf tribe and these human clans weren't enemies. At this moment, there were also many Wind Wolf tribe members outside the Spectre Forest. Elder Lin, I wonder what kind of shocking spiritual treasure appeared in Spectre Forest. No matter what shocking spirit treasure appears, at that time, the capable will take it. My Lin family is stronger than your Zhang family. My Zhang family is not afraid of your Lin family. Hundreds of genetic warriors started discussing. Why aren't the Qin family here yet? A genetic warrior suddenly asked. As soon as these words were spoken, the hundreds of genetic warriors were also very puzzled. They thought to themselves, that's strange. The Qin family was supposed to be the first to arrive. Why hadn't they appeared? The Wind Wolf tribe members outside Spectre Forest were also very puzzled. They wondered why the Qin family people hadn't arrived yet. Moreover, the members of their tribe that had gone to the Qin family hadn't come back yet. At this moment, Yili, Ada, and Qin Tian had already arrived outside Spectre Forest. The genetic warriors and Wind Wolf tribe members did not notice them. Ha ha ha. Suddenly, a loud laugh could be heard. This laughter seemed to carry a deep domineering aura. It felt extremely domineering. Hundreds of genetic warriors and Wind Wolf tribe members turned pale with fright because they knew what was coming. T-Tyrant Whale Silver Sun Tigers. A genetic warrior's pupils constricted as he exclaimed. Suddenly, 5 Tyrant Whale Silver Sun Tigers appeared in front of them. The Tyrant Whale Silver Yang Tiger was the most terrifying dark race members in the northern plains. Every single one of them possessed boundless strength and unparalleled strength. 729 Kunlun Mirror. Continue reading on Zenvel. The hundreds of genetic warriors and Wind Wolf tribe members were terrified to the extreme. This was the Tyrant Whale Silver Sun Tiger clan. The Tyrant Whale Silver Yang Tiger was the most terrifying dark race in the northern plains. The people who weren't afraid of them hadn't been born yet. Our tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger clan wants the treasure in Spectre Forest. Who agrees and who opposes? The 5 tyrant whale Silver Young Tigers were all Tier I Lord level Dark Race members. Among these hundreds of genetic warriors, the highest was only an 8th tier Transcender, and the highest in the Wind Wolf tribe was only a 9th tier Master level Wind Wolf. Silence, a deadly silence. At this moment, no one dared to say a word. They knew that if they objected, the tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger would destroy them without hesitation. In the northern plains, the tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger was the sky. Yili watched indifferently from the side. 5 tier, 1 lord level tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers were definitely an insurmountable mountain to hundreds of genetic warriors and Wind Wolf tribe members, but to him, they were just ants. I agree. Suddenly, a family head said. Countless voices of approval followed. I agree. I agree. The 5 tier, 1 lord level tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers looked at the hundreds of genetic warriors and Wind Wolf tribe members, and their faces were filled with disdain. You can leave now, a tier 1 lord level tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger shouted. Hundreds of genetic warriors and Wind Wolf tribe members hurriedly fled in all directions as if they had been pardoned. Their speed had already reached the fastest speed they could reach. Senior, what should we do? Seeing this scene, Chen Tian's face turned as pale as a sheet of paper. It's just a few little tigers, Yili said slowly. When Chen Tian heard this, her entire body could not help but tremble. She looked at Yili in a daze and realized that there was killing intent hidden in the corner of Yili's eyes. Suddenly, she had a feeling that nothing in this world could stop an existence like Yili. After several hundred genetic warriors and Wind Wolf tribe members escaped from the Spectre Forest, 5 tier, 1 lord level tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers entered the Spectre Forest. Let's go in too, Yili said. The reason why he did not kill the 5 tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers outside was because he wanted them to help him find the treasure. There was strength in numbers. It was an old principle in the martial world, and it was also an eternal truth. Then, Yili, Ada, and Chen Tian walked into Spectre Forest. Spectre Forest was shockingly huge, there were countless ferocious beasts inside. Senior, I find it hard to breathe. Chen Tian looked at Yili awkwardly. There was a strange gas in Spectre Forest, it gave people a suffocating feeling. Without thinking too much, he placed Chen Tian into the system space. I wonder what the shocking spiritual treasure in Spectre Forest is, Yili muttered to himself. Yili and Ada started to search. I believe that the shocking spiritual treasure in Spectre Forest is this mirror. Suddenly, a loud laugh entered Yili's ears. Yili activated the heavenly spirit eyes and looked in the direction of the voice. He realized that there was a mirror on a pool hundreds of meters away from him. The mirror's surface seemed to be illusional, and its entire body was purple, gold. Could this mirror be one of the 10 great divine weapons, the Kunlun mirror? Another tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger's voice entered Yili's ears. Yili smiled calmly. One would search high and low only to find it when one least expected to. Let's go over, Yili said slowly to Ada. Chapter 730, Who approves, who opposes? Continue reading on Zenvel. In a cold and gloomy pool, the pool looked unfathomable and had a dense killing intent. A leaf slowly fell into the pool and instantly melted into nothingness. On top of the pool, there was a purple gold mirror that was emitting purple light. It was extremely dazzling. This is definitely one of the 10 great divine weapons, the Kunlun mirror, a Tier I Lord level tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger said. The other 4 tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers all had happy smiles on their faces. They had only heard that a shocking spiritual treasure had appeared in the Spectre Forest north of the northern plains, but they would never have thought that it was one of the 10 great divine weapons, the Kunlun mirror. Let's take the Kunlun mirror now. The few tyrant whale silver-toothed tigers nodded and prepared to take the Kunlun mirror. If you want the Kunlun mirror, you have to obtain my approval first. The sudden voice entered the ears of the 5 tyrant whale silver sun tigers. They were all shocked. Clearly, they did not expect a voice to suddenly appear. The 5 tier 1 lord level tyrant whale silver sun tigers looked in the direction of the voice and saw Yili and Ada slowly walking towards them. It was obvious that this was their first time seeing Yili and Ada. Humans? The 5 tier 1 lord level tyrant whale silver sun tigers laughed coldly. It was only because they really didn't understand why these 2 humans had come to die. Das aura had already been concealed, and the tier I lord level tyrant whale silver young tiger could not tell he was a zombie at all. Yili and Ada stopped 10 steps away from the 5 tyrant whale silver sun tigers. You guys can leave now. I want this Kunlun mirror. Okay, I'm done. Now who agrees and who opposes? Yili thought that since they had said the same words to the hundreds of genetic warriors and Wind Wolf tribe members outside the Spectre Forest, he would give them a taste of their own medicine. The 5 tier 1 lord level overlord whale silver sun tigers were all shocked and they heard this. They really did not understand why Yili dared to say such a thing. Human, are you alright? A tier 1 lord level tyrant whale silver sun tiger looked at Yili in shock. In the eyes of the 5 tyrant whale silver sun tigers, Yili was a lunatic who didn't care about his own life. In other words, you're against it? Yili looked at the 5 tyrant whale silver sun tigers indifferently. So what if I object? A tier I lord level tyrant whale silver sun tiger sneered. Yili was silent for a few seconds. He thought for a moment and continued, nothing much will happen. It's just that all of you will die. What? The 5 tyrant whale silver sun tigers were all furious. They stared at Yili. Human, do you know what will happen to you after you say this? A tier I lord level tyrant whale silver young tiger said coldly to Yili. Yili smiled faintly. There was no change in his handsome face at all. It's just that I'll live and you'll die. What can happen to me? Rage. Absolute rage. The 5 tyrant whale silver sun tigers dared to swear to the heavens that they had never seen someone as arrogant as Yili. Human, since you insist on courting death, don't blame us. As soon as he finished speaking, a tier I lord level tyrant whale silver sun tiger pounced towards Yili. Yili smiled faintly. He really didn't understand why these tyrant whale silver sun tigers didn't cherish the chance to survive he had given them. Did they not want to live anymore? Or did they think that his words were a joke? 731 When I kill you, don't fight back. Continue reading on Zenvel. All duh. Yili called out. Roar. When this tier I lord level tyrannical whale silver young tiger was only inches away from Yili, Alda roared and fiercely punched out. Boom. Space shook. Ada was a 5th tier lord level zombie. Facing a tier I lord level tyrant whale silver young tiger, the result was obvious. As this tier I lord level tyrant whale silver sun tiger let out a miserable cry, his life disappeared from this world forever. How was that possible? The remaining 4 tyrant whale silver sun tigers were all stunned. They would never have thought of such a situation even if they used all their strength. One punch, and he was killed. One had to know that this was a tier I lord level tyrant whale silver sun tiger. Looking at the shock on the faces of these tyrant whale silver sun tigers, Yili smiled faintly and slowly said to them, actually, you don't have to be afraid, because you're about to die. As soon as these words were spoken, the 4 tyrant whale silver sun tigers were even more shocked. Humans, what realm are you in? The 4 tyrant whale silver sun tigers felt that they had kicked an iron plate. They had no choice but to be vigilant. Yili looked at the sun in the sky and thought for a moment before saying to the 4 tyrant whale silver sun tigers, only a 7th tier chosen one. What? When the 4 tier 1 lord level tyrant whale silver sun tigers heard this, they all turned pale with fright. A 7th tier chosen one. All of them were only at the tier I lord level. They would never have thought that Yili was actually a 7th-tier chosen one. In an instant, these 4-tier Lord-level tyrant whale silver sun tigers were all scared out of wits. Human, we are from the tyrant whale silver young tiger clan. In the northern plains, our tyrant whale silver young tiger clan is the heavens. If you dare to do anything to us, your ending will definitely be miserable. The meaning of the 4-tier Lord-level tyrant whale silver sun tigers was very clear. It meant that no matter how strong Yili was, what could he do to them? Unfortunately, these 4 tyrant whale silver young tigers had all miscalculated. But you're going to die soon. How will your tyrant whale silver sun tiger clan know that we did it? Yili smiled faintly. When the 4-tier, 1 Lord-level tyrant whale silver sun tigers heard this, a chill rushed from their tailbones to the top of their heads, and they looked at Yili with extreme fear. They couldn't speak. They really couldn't speak. When I, Yili, kill you, don't try to resist and don't try to escape, Yili said slowly. After all, they were the strongest dark race in the northern plains. The 4 tyrant whale silver sun tigers came back to their senses and stared at Yili. They thought that it was all Adas doing just now. Yili did not do anything. Moreover, was he really a 7th-tier chosen one? Afterwards, the 4-tier Lord-level tyrant whale silver sun tigers looked at each other, as if they had reached some sort of agreement. Roar! Suddenly, 4-tier, 1 Lord-level tyrant whale silver sun tigers all pounced towards Yili. Yili smiled. How could he not know what the 4 tyrant whale silver sun tigers were thinking? However, not only were their thoughts wrong, they were so completely wrong. Swish! At some point in time, the ancient dragon abyss sword had already appeared in Yili's hand. He slashed out, and a supreme sword light shot towards the 4-tier, 1 Lord-level tyrant whale silver young tigers pouncing over. In an instant, the 4-tier Lord-level tyrant whale silver sun tigers were all melted into nothingness by the supreme sword light. Why bother? Yili shook his head slowly. 732 So there really was a demon. Continue reading on Zenvel. Yili killed 4 tyrant whale silver young tigers with 1 strike. After putting the ancient dragon abyss sword into the system space, he looked at the Kunlun mirror on the pool. Another leaf fell into the pool, and the leaf melted again. Yili smiled faintly and thought that this pond was quite interesting. Then, he raised his palm and reached into the pool water. Hiss! Yili actually felt a trace of pain. If his current defense was placed in a martial arts television drama, it would literally be invincible. However, Yili wasn't interested in the water either. He reached out and took the Kunlun mirror. Ding! Congratulations to the host for obtaining one of the 10 great divine weapons, the Kunlun mirror. Hearing the system's voice, Yili was relieved. Ding! A great opportunity has been detected at the bottom of the pool. Host, please head to the bottom of the pool. Yili was stunned. He thought about how lucky he was. Not only did he find the Kunlun mirror, but he also found a great opportunity at the bottom of the pool. It could be said that with the system in hand, I had the world. Without thinking too much, Yili and Ada jumped into the water. Cold, bone-piercing cold. If it were an ordinary genetic warrior, they would probably have died instantly the moment they jumped into the pool. However, Yili was not an ordinary genetic warrior, and Ada was a zombie. Not long after, Yili and Ada reached the bottom of the pool. After reaching the bottom of the pool, Yili scanned the area with his heavenly spirit eyes. It didn't matter if he didn't look, but when he saw Yili, he was really stunned because he saw a coffin at the bottom of the pool. Well, ever since he transmigrated to this world, he had never been shocked, but this time, he was truly shocked. There was a coffin at the bottom of the pool. What the hell was going on? Then, Yili and Ada walked towards the coffin. A moment later, Yili and Alta saw the coffin. It was a huge bronze coffin that was several meters long and was pulled by dozens of chains. There's something wrong with this coffin. Yili felt waves of demonic aura coming from the coffin. Demonic aura. He was a demon in the past and knew the demonic aura too well. Could there really be demons in this world? Yili stopped in his tracks and sized up the huge bronze coffin in front of him. It's been hundreds of years. A creature has finally appeared. A very world-weary voice sounded in Yili's ears. Yili couldn't help but freeze. Suddenly, the bronze coffin slowly opened. A pitch-black creature that looked like an ancient demon appeared from the coffin. There were countless cracks in this demon's body, and the cracks were filled with magma. It was a shocking sight. Yili was very sure that the creature in front of him was a demon. However, it seemed to be just a soul without a physical body. You're humans, right? The demon looked at Yili and aired, "Host, don't worry. This demon doesn't have a body. It only has the strength of a fifth-tier chosen one." The system's voice suddenly appeared in Yili's mind. Hearing this, Yili's handsome face became playful. The strength of a fifth-tier chosen one? Then wouldn't killing him be child's play? That's right. We're humans. Just tell us what you want, Yili said slowly. The demon laughed coldly. Of course I'm going to possess one of you. Yili understood when he heard this. This demon wanted to possess one of them and see the light of day again. I'm sorry, not only will you not succeed, but you will also die. Yili said lightly. "733 Fiery Demon King." Continue reading on Zenvel. Ha ha ha. The demon burst into laughter, as though he had never heard such a funny joke. Human, I'm the Fiery Demon King. What kind of courage do you have to dare to say such words to me? Yili looked at the smile on the face of the Fiery Demon King and shook his head slightly. Unfortunately, you're only a fifth-tier chosen one now. As soon as these words were spoken, the Fiery Demon King could not help but tremble. He looked at Yili in a daze, obviously not understanding how Yili knew his current strength. Human, how did you know? The Fiery Demon King finally felt that something was wrong. He stared at Yili coldly and said. Yili smiled faintly. Does it still matter how I found out? Host, as long as you kill the Fiery Demon King, you can obtain the Fiery Demon Pill in the Fiery Demon King's body. At this moment, the system's voice appeared in Yili's mind. The Fiery Demon King calmed himself down and stared at Yili and Ada. Human, although you might have some strength, you're like an ant in front of me. Come over and let me kill you. After saying that, the Fiery Demon King hooked his finger at Yili. Upon seeing this, Yili couldn't help but secretly smile. He thought that this Fiery Demon King really didn't know that he was about to die. Alta, do it, Yili said slowly to Ada. Ada nodded and raised his fist to attack the Fiery Demon King. When the Fiery Demon King saw this, he sneered and also raised his fist to punch. Ada's heavy punch was about to collide with the Fiery Demon King's heavy punch. Boom! An earth-shattering sound came from the bottom of the pool. What Yili didn't expect was that Ada and the Fiery Demon King were evenly matched. Alda's strength was absolutely terrifying. You're not human. The Fiery Demon King seemed to have sensed something and looked at Ada in shock. A cold smile appeared on Ada's handsome face. That's right. I'm indeed not a human. I'm a Lord-level zombie. When the Fiery Demon King heard this, his face was filled with shock. A zombie? The Fiery Demon King would never have thought that Ada was a zombie. Immediately, Ada and the Fiery Demon King retreated. True Fire Domineering Fist. Ada used the heaven-grade skill, True Fire Domineering Fist. Although it was at the bottom of the pool, cold water still could not extinguish the fire fist. Fire? The Fiery Demon King smiled coldly. Demon Flame Heavenly Fist. The Fiery Demon King shouted. This time, it was not a head-on collision of fists, but a collision of skills. In an instant, the sweat at the bottom of the pool began to boil. Crackle, crackle, crackle. Ada and the fiery demon king fought for dozens of rounds, but neither side had an obvious advantage. Yili smiled faintly. There was no change in his handsome face at all. He thought that this fiery demon king still had some ability. Alda, come back, Yili called out to Alda. Ada returned to Yili's side. When the fiery demon king saw that Ada had returned to Yili's side, he started to look extremely smug. Human, your zombies aren't that good. Are you guys preparing to escape? The fiery demon king's face was filled with mockery. Yili smiled and looked at the fiery demon king calmly. You really seem to understand everything. Human, then you, the fiery demon king did not speak. He looked at Yili in confusion, obviously asking what Yili meant. "734 Swallowing the fiery demon pill. Continue reading on Zenvel. The fiery demon king really didn't know what Yili meant. He stared at Yili in confusion. Yili smiled faintly and said slowly, Fiery demon king, there's actually no other meaning. It's just that I'm dealing with you. Ha ha ha. The fiery demon king laughed loudly again, as if he had heard the funniest joke in history. Human, even your zombies can't defeat me. Do you want to defeat me? The fiery demon king's face was filled with disdain. Do you really believe your eyes? Yili looked at the fiery demon king indifferently. The fiery demon king was stunned. It was obvious that he did not understand what Yili meant. Before he could say anything, he heard Yili say, "Never trust your own eyes, because sometimes they can deceive you." As soon as these words were spoken, the fiery demon king was even more confused. He shouted coldly at Yili, "Human, what else have you got at this point? Come and die." Yili shook his head secretly. He really didn't understand why there were always so many useless people who overestimated themselves. Suddenly, a terrifying dragon cry and sword cry appeared at the bottom of the pool. The ancient dragon abyss sword appeared in Yili's hand. Seeing the ancient dragon abyss sword in Yili's hand, the fiery demon king could not help but be stunned. He even asked, "Human, what exactly is that treasure in your hand?" The fiery demon king felt that the ancient dragon abyss sword in Yili's hand was too much of a threat to him. "A treasure to kill you." Yili enunciated each word slowly. When the fiery demon king heard this, his pupils constricted. Swish! Suddenly, a supreme sword light flew towards the fiery demon king. The fiery demon king only had the strength of a no-tier chosen one. When facing the sword of the 7th tier chosen one, Yili, he definitely had no ability to resist. Alf! Before the supreme sword beam could kill the fiery demon king, he shouted because he knew that he was about to die. Boom! Without a doubt, the supreme sword beam struck the fiery demon king's body. Accompanied by a tragic cry, the fiery demon king's life would disappear from this world forever. A red demonic pill appeared in front of Yili. "Is this the fiery demon pill?" Yili muttered to himself. Then, Yili slowly walked over and held the fiery demon pill in his hand. Yili felt a strong heat. One could imagine how high the temperature of the fiery demon pill was. "Host, you can swallow the fiery demon pill now." The system's voice appeared in Yili's mind again. Yili smiled calmly. He was relieved when he heard the system's voice. Without thinking too much, Yili swallowed the fiery demon pill. Instantly, Yili felt a scorching power attacking his internal organs. He immediately sat cross-legged on the ground and began to refine the terrifying power in his body. Upgrade to an 8th tier chosen one. Ding! Congratulations to the host for becoming a true demon. As the system's voice fell, Yili opened his eyes. There was no change in his expression. A real demon? Yili remembered that after he cultivated the ancient devil tome, he became a real demon. Later on, the ancient devil tome became the ancient dragon abyss sword embryo. Then, Yili opened his hand and a ball of black spiritual energy appeared in his hand. "735 Tossing an embroidered ball to select a bride." Continue reading on Zenvel. Yili looked at the ball of black gas in his palm and smiled bitterly. He thought about how he used the ancient devil tome to become a demon in the past and later became a human. How did he become a demon again now? Immediately, he understood. So what if he was a demon? So what if he was a human? What awaited him was just one after another massacre. However, Yili smiled coldly. His ancient dragon abyss sword embryo did not disappear, which meant that he had completely relied on the fiery demon pill to become a demon. Now that he was an 8th tier heaven's chosen one, Yili felt that his body was filled with power. Now that he had found the Kunlun mirror and become an 8th tier heaven's chosen one, he had earned a lot. "Alta, let's leave." Yili looked at Ada and said. Ada nodded and they left. Yili and Ada left the Spectre Forest and he released Chen Tian from the system space. Senior. Chen Tian was a little stunned. She did not expect Yili to suddenly let her out. "Alda, bring her back to the Demon King Palace," Yili said to Ada. "Yes, Master," Alda replied. Then, Ada left Spectre Forest with Chen Tian. Yili walked slowly. He wanted to learn more about Northern Plains. He used his heavenly spirit eyes as he walked. Not long after, he actually found a place like a base city. To think that there are so many humans in the Northern Plains. Yili spoke slowly. With that, Yili slowly walked over. Not long after, he arrived at a city that was like a base city. Yili sized up the people inside. Unlike the base city, these people were not ordinary people, but genetic warriors. "Let's go quickly. The Miss of the Shao family is throwing an embroidered ball to select a bride. Perhaps we can have some dogs hit luck." Ha, if one can secure a marriage with the Shao family, I, Ergu, will be able to rise to prominence. That's right. The Shao family is a super family in the Protection City. From the conversation between these people, Yili learned that this place was called Protection City and the Miss of the Shao family from this city was tossing an embroidered ball to select a bride. Yili felt that this was ridiculous. How could there be such a way for a woman to get a husband in this world? Yili found it funny. However, since he was already here, wouldn't it be a sin if he didn't go and take a look? Without further ado, Yili followed them. A moment later, Yili arrived at an arena. At this moment, there was already a sea of people below the arena. A proud-looking girl of about 20 years old stood on the stage. She was wearing a silk skirt and looked very beautiful. Yili looked at the girl. Even if he used his toes, he could imagine that the proud girl in the ring was the Miss of the Shao family. The eldest daughter of the Shao family was also a 9th-tier evolved being. She was definitely a genius. Is this the eldest daughter of the Shao family, Shao Yu? She's too beautiful. Of course. Miss Shao is the most beautiful person in the city. But Miss Shao is arrogant by nature. I'm afraid no one can handle her. The genetic warriors in the arena began to whisper. This girl was truly gorgeous. Shao Yu stood in the arena and looked at the genetic warriors below the arena in disdain because she felt that they were all unsightly. Ever since she was born, she had been the apple of the Shao family's eye. This time, she wasn't really throwing an embroidered ball to get married. It was really just for fun. Anyway, no one dared to criticize her. Shao Yu thought that when the time came, she would at most compensate the person who won the embroidered ball. Thinking of this, her proud face could not help but reveal a smile. "736 Why don't you snatch the embroidered ball?" Continue reading on Zenvel. Shao Yu looked at the genetic warriors below the arena in disdain. She was thinking about where to throw the embroidered ball. Suddenly, she saw Yili. Then she could not help but be stunned. Her proud face was filled with shock because she had never seen such a handsome man. Or rather, she had no idea that there was such a good-looking person in this world. Immediately, Xiao Yu threw the embroidered ball in her hand at Yi Li. She naturally hoped that Yi Li could snatch the embroidered ball from these genetic warriors. Hurry up and snatch it. As a loud shout sounded, the genetic warriors below the arena began to fight crazily. In the eyes of these genetic warriors, as long as they could snatch the embroidered ball, they would be able to rise to prominence. Naturally, they did not know that Xiao Yu was only playing them like fools. Xiao Yu kept looking at Yi Li in the crowd. She realized that Yi Li had no intention of snatching the embroidered ball. For a moment, her proud face could not help but show an unhappy look. Stop scrambling! Xiao Yu shouted towards the arena. The genetic warriors below the arena looked at Xiao Yu in shock, not understanding what was going on. Xiao Yu had no intention of explaining. She jumped off the stage and walked towards Yi Li. All the genetic warriors were dumbfounded. They wondered what Miss Xiao was planning to do. Xiao Yu walked in front of Yi Li and stared at him. Why didn't you snatch the embroidered ball? Xiao Yu said coldly. When the genetic warriors heard Xiao Yu's words, they were immediately shocked. Could it be that Miss Xiao already had someone in her heart, and the person was the man in front of them? However, the genetic warriors were only focused on snatching the embroidered ball just now and did not notice Yi Li. This time, when they focused their gazes on Yi Li's appearance, they were all shocked. Compared to the man in front of them, their looks were worlds apart. Why should I snatch the embroidered ball? Yi Li looked at Xiao Yu indifferently. Yi Li just wanted to watch the show, but he was targeted. Although he was handsome, there was no need for Xiao Yu to be so infatuated with him. You, how dare you speak to me like that? Xiao Yu was stunned. She was really stunned. Ever since she was born, no one had dared to speak to her like this. Don't come out with your pitiful sense of superiority. Hurry up and disappear, Yi Li said slowly to Xiao Yu. As soon as these words were spoken, the genetic warriors below the arena were all stunned. They looked at Yi Li in shock. They would never have thought that someone would dare to speak to Miss Xiao like this in the Protection City. You! Xiao Yu could not help but widen her eyes. She really did not expect this peerlessly handsome person in front of her to be so arrogant. Don't you hear me? Disappear. Do you think you're very beautiful? Yi Li pursed his lips and said to Xiao Yu. What? All the genetic warriors gasped and were dumbfounded. One had to know that Miss Xiao was the #1 beauty in the Protection City. Could it be that this person did not have any interest in women at all? How dare you speak to Miss Xiao like that? Guards! Take him down. Suddenly, a group of soldiers appeared and surrounded Yi Li. Yi Li's face was as calm as water, as if he treated this group of soldiers as air. What do you want? A 9th-tier evolved being in a military uniform smiled coldly at Yi Li and said, Since you're so disrespectful to Miss Xiao, of course we'll capture you. "737 I have no interest in knowing who you are. Continue reading on Zenvel." The genetic warriors were all stunned. They originally thought that Yi Li was the man Xiao Yu loved. Now, it seemed that not only were they wrong, but they were also so completely wrong. They all looked at Yi Li with pity. Of course, they knew that Yi Li's ending would be very miserable. Those who offended Miss Xiao in the Protection City would end up very miserable. However, the genetic warriors were all stunned because they realized that Yi Li's handsome face was as calm as water, as if he wasn't afraid at all. Brat, are you going to surrender yourself or do we have to make you? A 9th-tier evolved being in military uniform asked. Yi Li smiled. You want to catch me, Yi Li, with just you ants? As soon as these words were spoken, all the genetic warriors were stunned again. They had never seen someone like Yi Li before. Brat, I didn't expect you to have some guts. However, it's useless. This world has always been about strength. The ninth tier evolved being shouted coldly. As soon as he finished speaking, a group of troops headed towards Yili, Alt. Suddenly, they were all sent flying and landed heavily on the ground. What? The genetic warriors couldn't help but widen their eyes when they saw this scene. They didn't see how Yili attacked at all. They really couldn't understand how these people were sent flying. How is this possible? The ninth tier evolved being and Xiao Yu were also stunned. They naturally did not expect such a situation. Yili looked at the ninth tier evolved being indifferently and said slowly, "Why don't you believe me when I, Yili, say that you're ants? Don't tell me ants like you always think so highly of yourselves." The ninth tier evolved being did not dare to speak anymore. He knew that he was definitely not Yili's match. He looked at Xiao Yu. "I didn't expect your strength to be so terrifying." Xiao Yu snorted at Yili, "Apologize to me. I'll pretend that this never happened." Yili looked at Xiao Yu and said calmly. All the genetic warriors were shocked when they heard this. Asking Miss Xiao to apologize? From what they knew, there was no way such a thing would happen. "Do you know who I am?" Xiao Yu frowned deeply and looked at Yili coldly. "I'm not interested in knowing who an ant like you is," Yili said frankly. "You?" Xiao Yu became extremely angry. "I'm the eldest daughter of the Xiao family. The Xiao family is the strongest family in the city." In a fit of anger, Xiao Yu revealed her identity. Xiao Yu originally thought that Yili would be frightened by her identity, but to her surprise, there was no change in Yili's expression at all. "I'll say it again. Apologize to me." "Don't make me say it a third time," Yili said slowly. "You're courting death." The ninth tier evolved being in the military uniform could not take it anymore and roared at Yili. As soon as he finished speaking, a ninth tier evolved being charged towards Yili. No one dared to be so arrogant in front of the Xiao family in a place like the Protection City. How could a ninth tier evolved being not be angry? Yili looked at the incoming ninth tier evolved beings and could not help but shake his head. Why were there always so many ignorant ants? Clap. Just as the ninth tier evolved being was one step away from Yili, Yili slapped the ninth tier evolved being's face. How could this crisp sound be described with words? Say sorry to me 100 times. Continue reading on Zenvel. The ninth tier evolved being was sent flying and landed heavily on the ground. His face was so swollen that it was no different from a pig's head. This, the genetic warriors were already shocked to the extreme as they looked at Yili in shock. "A fool like you actually dares to boast shamelessly in front of me, Yili?" Yili said disdainfully. As soon as he finished speaking, Yili's right hand turned into a claw, and a powerful suction force headed towards the ninth tier evolved being on the ground. The ninth tier evolved being was instantly sucked over by this powerful suction force. No! No! The ninth tier evolved being could no longer care about the pain. He screamed in horror. Xiao Yu and the genetic warriors were already frozen like clay sculptures. This was the first time they had been shocked since they were born. The ninth tier evolved being had already arrived in front of Yili. At this moment, he looked at Yili in horror. "I beg you to let me go, I beg you to let me go." The ninth tier evolved being begged for mercy loudly. He started to feel extremely regretful in his heart. If he could start all over again, he would never have done this no matter what. Yili did not care about the begging of the ninth tier evolved being. He looked at the frozen Xiao Yu indifferently. "Do you think I should spare his life?" Xiao Yu came back to her senses when she heard this. She definitely did not expect Yili to say such words to her. "Get out of the way." Suddenly, dozens of high-leveled evolved beings rushed over. These evolved beings were all from the Xiao clan. They went to Xiao Ye's side. "Miss!" Dozens of high-leveled evolved beings shouted at Xiao Yu. The genetic warriors looked at this scene in shock. They hurriedly looked at Yi Li and realized that there was still no change in Yi Li's expression. It was as if he treated these high-leveled evolved beings as nothing. I advise you to let him go. Otherwise, you will definitely end up in a very miserable state. Xiao Yu stared at Yi Li and said coldly. The arrival of more than 30 high-leveled evolved beings from the Xiao family gave Xiao Yu confidence. However, Yi Li smiled. He shook his head slowly and said calmly to Xiao Yu, since you want me, Yi Li, to let him go, apologize. Actually, there's no need to say anything. Just apologize to me, Yi Li, 100 times in a row. As soon as he said this, everyone present was shocked. They would rather believe that the sky was about to collapse than believe that Yi Li would say such a thing. What an arrogant junior. A 10th-tier evolved being of the Xiao clan shouted coldly. This 10th-tier evolved being was the strongest among the 30-odd high-leveled evolved beings. Are you really not afraid of death? Xiao Yu really didn't understand why there was someone like Yi Li in this world. He was already in such a situation, but he could still remain calm. It seems that you don't want to, Yi Li said lightly. As soon as he finished speaking, the 9th-tier evolved being in Yi Li's hand let out a shrill scream. Air! The 9th-tier evolved being's right leg had a shocking bloody hole. What? Everyone present was terrified. They did not see how Yi Li attacked at all. In other words, Yi Li's speed was no longer something that they could see with their naked eyes. What about now? Yi Li looked at Xiao Yu indifferently and asked. Don't go too far. Continue reading on Zenvel. Xiao Yu was shocked and looked at Yi Li in horror. Do you know that this is a protection city? At this point, Xiao Yu still wanted to use her identity to suppress Yi Li. Unfortunately, she didn't know that Yi Li was never afraid of threats. The genetic warriors had already scared out of wits. They looked at Yi Li dumbfoundedly. This was probably the first time they had dared to do such a thing in the protection city. Yi Li shook his head slightly and said slowly, looks like you're not willing. As soon as he finished speaking, another blood-curdling scream that caused one's scalp to go numb sounded in everyone's ears. A shocking bloody hole had also appeared on the left leg of the 9th-tier evolved being. It was a horrifying sight. Oh! It hurts! It hurts! The 9th-tier evolved being screamed loudly. This was the most painful thing he had ever experienced since he was born. And now? Yi Li looked at Xiao Yu and a playful expression appeared on his handsome face. Xiao Yu was already stunned. She never thought that Yi Li would not be threatened at all. At this point, she knew that if she didn't apologize to Yi Li, the 9th-tier evolved being in Yi Li's hands would definitely die. She knew very well that someone like Yi Li would do anything. I'm sorry. Xiao Yu gritted her teeth and glared at Yi Li. The eyes of the genetic warriors widened for the largest time in history. They didn't even dare to think about asking Miss Xiao to apologize. It's not enough. Yi Li shook his head slowly. You. Xiao Yu glared at Yi Li. Xiao Ye's eyes were already spewing out a raging flame. She had never been so angry. Don't go too far. Yi Li smiled and another shocking scream sounded in everyone's ears. Air! A bloody hole appeared on the right hand of the 9th-tier evolved being in Yi Li's hand again. At this moment, the 9th-tier evolved being's face had already turned ashen, as if he would die at any moment. I'm sorry. Xiao Yu gritted her teeth and said to Yi Li again. As soon as these words were spoken, the genetic warriors hurriedly looked at Yi Li. They wanted to know what Yi Li would say, but they never expected him to say such a thing. It's still not enough. You. Xiao Yu was furious. As the eldest daughter of the Xiao family, when had she ever been threatened like this? Just as Xiao Yu was hesitating, the 9th-tier evolved being let out another blood-curdling scream. Oh! A shocking bloody hole also appeared on the left hand of the ninth-tier evolved being. Xiao Yu listened to the screams and looked at Yi Li in a daze. She realized that there was no change in Yi Li's expression at all. It was as if no matter what happened, he would not even blink. Sorry X98. In the end, Xiao Yu apologized to Yi Li 100 times. The genetic warriors present were already frozen like clay sculptures. There were no words that could describe the shock in their hearts. Yi Li was such a person. He didn't want to use his own strength to bully others, but he definitely wouldn't look down on others. Just as Xiao Yu apologized 100 times, he released the ninth-tier evolved being. At this moment, the ninth-tier evolved being was already unconscious. Brat, let's see how you escape this time. The leading 10th-tier evolved being shouted at Yi Li. You're all frogs in a well. Continue reading on Znvel. All the genetic warriors present felt that Yi Li was already a dead man. He was already surrounded by more than 30 high-leveled evolved beings of the Xiao family. There was no way out for him. Of course, they felt that Yi Li was scared out of his wits. However, they would rather believe that the sky was about to collapse than believe that there was no change in Yi Li's expression. How could the genetic warriors of the Xiao family not see Yi Li's calm face? They could not help but fly into a rage. Do you know, I've never met anyone like you? Xiao Yu stared at Yi Li. There was only one thought in her mind now, and that was that Yi Li was not afraid of death at all. Otherwise, he would not be so calm. Can you tell me what you're planning to do? Yi Li looked at Xiao Yu playfully. Xiao Yu was stunned. She didn't understand if Yi Li really didn't know or was pretending not to know. Then, she smiled coldly at Yi Li. Of course, it'll give you a taste of your own medicine. All the genetic warriors present knew that Yi Li's outcome would definitely be very tragic. Offending the Xiao family in the protection city was no different from courting death. With just you ants? Yi Li smiled. He really did not understand why ants always overestimated themselves. Hearing this, everyone could not help but gasp. Too arrogant, too arrogant. Since you say we're ants, I'll let you see how powerful the Xiao family is. After Xiao Yu finished speaking, she said to the Xiao clan's 10th-tier evolved being, let's go. When the Xiao family's 10th-tier evolved being heard this, he immediately waved his hand. Attack! As the 10th-tier evolved being gave the order, more than 30 high-leveled evolved beings of the Xiao family pounced towards Yi Li. When the genetic warriors saw this scene, they all shook their heads. Although they felt that Yi Li was bolder than the heavens, there was no chance of survival in the face of so many high-leveled evolved beings. In the eyes of the genetic warriors, Yi Li was about to die. However, no one expected such a scene to happen. The 30-odd high-leveled evolved beings that Yi Li pounced on were all sent flying. They landed heavily on the ground and spat out a large mouthful of blood. What? All the genetic warriors present gasped. They were dumbfounded as they watched this scene. This was something they would never see. Impossible. This is absolutely impossible. This scene was like a bolt from the blue striking Xiao Yu and the 10th-tier evolved beings' heads. They couldn't believe it. They really couldn't believe it. However, the truth was right in front of them. Even if they did not believe it, it was useless. Fools like you don't know how high the sky is and how wide the earth is, Yi Li said slowly to Xiao Yu and the 10th-tier evolved being. When Xiao Yu and the 10th-tier evolved being heard this, their faces were filled with extreme fear. How could they say anything? Who dares to cause trouble in the protection city? Suddenly, an old man appeared in front of Yi Li. Yi Li had seen this old man in Spectre Forest before, so he was naturally not interested at all. He was just a 7th-tier transcender. Grandpa. Family head. Xiao Yu and the 10th-tier evolved being hurriedly called out to the old man. Surprising as it may be, there's always something even more surprising. Continue reading on Zenvel. When the genetic warriors saw the old man, they all took 3 steps back. It's the Xiao family's Xiao Kuang. Xiao Kuang, the #1 expert in the protection city, was a 7th-tier transcender. Family head, blah, blah. The 10th tier evolved being told Xiao Kuang what had happened. When Xiao Kuang was listening, his old face turned green and purple. Do you know how terrifying my Xiao family is? Xiao Kuang stared at Yili. All the genetic warriors looked at Yili. They wanted to see how Yili would answer. Yili looked at the sun in the sky and said slowly after a few seconds, "What's so scary about an ant?" What? The expressions on the faces of everyone present seemed to have frozen. Even if they wanted to break their heads, they did not expect Yili to still be so arrogant in front of the Xiao family head. If one were to ask who the most arrogant person in the world was, they would definitely choose Yili without hesitation. You actually dare to say that my Xiao family is an ant? Xiao Kuang gritted his teeth and looked at Yili coldly. Yili smiled. Isn't that so? He really did not understand when a 7th-tier transcender was no longer an ant. Fine, fine, fine. The Xiao family's family head, Xiao Kuang, said good 3 times in a row. This meant that he was already extremely furious at this moment. Brat, you injured so many people in my Xiao family. Do you know that you're already dead? But I appreciate that your expression doesn't change even if Mount Tai collapses in front of you, so I'll give you a chance. If you can take 3 punches from me, I'll spare your life. Hiss. When the genetic warriors heard Xiao Kuang's words, they all gasped again. 3 punches? In the entire Protector City, there was no one who could take 3 punches from Xiao Kuang. Wasn't this also death? Are you going to tickle me? Yili looked at Xiao Kuang indifferently. When Xiao Kuang heard this, he could no longer stand Yili's arrogance. He shouted angrily at Yili, "How dare you be so presumptuous!" As soon as he finished speaking, Xiao Kuang raised his fist and threw a punch at Yili. His fist carried a strong wind. The genetic warriors widened their eyes. They realized that Yili had no intention of dodging. They naturally knew that as long as Xiao Kuang's punch landed on Yili's body, Yili would have no chance of survival. Just looking at Xiao Kuang's fist would make them tremble in fear. Xiao Yu also snorted coldly. She originally thought that Yili was quite good looking and wanted to throw the embroidered ball to him, but she didn't expect Yili to be such a person. Now, it could be considered that he had reaped what he sowed. Xiao Kuang's heavy punch was only a line away from Yili, but Yili still had no intention of dodging or defending. Without a doubt, this punch would definitely hit Yili, boom. As expected by the ordinary genetic warriors, Xiao Kuang punched Yili squarely. However, they never expected that Yili did not even take half a step back, let alone die. How was that possible? The genetic warriors were about to cry. They would rather believe that the sky was about to collapse than believe that this was true. What? Not to mention the genetic warriors, even Xiao Kuang was shocked to the extreme. I told you, you're just an ant. Do you believe me now? Yili looked at Xiao Kuang indifferently and said. Invite senior to the Xiao family. Continue reading on Zenvel. The head of the Xiao family, Xiao Kuang, was already shocked to the extreme. He looked at Yili in shock. Why are you perfectly fine after taking a punch from me? Xiao Kuang didn't believe it. He really couldn't believe it. After all, he was a 7th-tier transcender. I've said it before. You're just tickling me, Yili said calmly. Xiao Kuang looked at Yili's handsome face. Of course, he knew that Yili's strength was definitely higher than his, much higher. Senior, I was disrespectful just now. Please forgive me. After saying that, Xiao Kuang bowed deeply to Yili. How could the genetic warriors expect Xiao Kuang to suddenly bow to Yili? This, the genetic warriors were also shocked to the extreme. Do you think I, Yi Li, will even care? Yi Li looked at Xiao Kuang indifferently. Hearing this, Xiao Kuang hurriedly let out a long breath. He knew that there were too many powerhouses in this world. If Yi Li was really such a terrifying powerhouse, their Xiao family would be razed to the ground in an instant. Senior, if you have time, please go to the Xiao family for a chat. Xiao Kuang looked at Yi Li respectfully. Xiao Yu was stunned. She didn't expect her grandfather to say such words to Yi Li. She originally thought that Yi Li was dead for sure, but now she realized that not only was she wrong, but she was also so completely wrong. Yi Li pondered for a few seconds and thought that since he had nothing to do now, he might as well go. Let's go. Yi Li said slowly. Under the stunned gazes of the genetic warriors, Yi Li followed the Xiao family and slowly walked towards the Xiao family. Not long after, Yi Li arrived outside the Xiao family. As expected, it was worth the title of the #1 family in the Protection City. Please come in, Senior. The head of the Xiao family, Xiao Kuang, made an inviting gesture to Yi Li. After entering the Xiao family, Xiao Kuang brought Yi Li into the main hall and invited Yi Li to take a seat. He got someone to serve tea and water, looking extremely enthusiastic. At this moment, Xiao Yu and the elders of the Xiao family were also sitting in the hall. Senior, may I know your name? Xiao Kuang looked at Yi Li carefully and asked. Yi Li. Yi Li spoke slowly. Xiao Kuang thought about it. He was very sure that there was no ruthless person named Yi Li in the Northern Plains. I think Senior is not from the Northern Plains, right? Xiao Kuang said. Yi Li nodded. I am indeed not from the Northern Plains. Xiao Kuang took a sip of tea, and then he looked like he wanted to say something but hesitated. After a few seconds, he finally mustered up the courage to speak to Yi. Senior, what realm are you in? At this moment, Xiao Yu and the elders of the Xiao family also looked at Yi Li because they were too curious. They really wanted to know what realm Yi Li was in. He actually suffered such a punch and did not even take half a step back. An 8th tier Heaven's Chosen One, Yi Li answered honestly. What? When everyone in the Xiao family's hall heard this, they all suddenly stood up from their chairs. Everyone in the Xiao family's hall looked different, but they definitely had one thing in common at this moment. Their faces were all filled with shock. An 8th tier Heaven's Chosen One. This was an 8th tier Heaven's Chosen One. They looked at Yi Li in a daze and realized that Yi Li's expression was indifferent. He even picked up a grape and slowly ate it. Silence, a deadly silence. For some reason, they felt that Yi Li was not lying to them. He was really an 8th tier Chosen One. Take a walk with me. Continue reading on Zenvel. Yi Li looked at the shocked faces of the Xiao family and shook his head slightly. Are you shocked? Everyone in the main hall of the Xiao family regained their senses and looked at Yi Li in shock. They did not understand what Yi Li meant. Don't ever be shocked. Everything I, Yi Li, do will shock you for 3 days and 3 nights, Yi Li continued. However, how could the people in the main hall of the Xiao family not be shocked? This was an 8th tier Heaven's Chosen One. To them, an 8th tier Heaven's Chosen One was an existence that they could not even look up to. As for Xiao Yu, she was petrified on the spot. So I offended an 8th tier Heaven's Chosen One? Xiao Yu thought to herself in shock. Suddenly, cold sweat drenched Xiao Yu's entire body. She could not help but feel extremely afraid. She thought that it was a good thing that Yi Li did not hold it against the Xiao family. Otherwise, with the power of an 8th tier Heaven's Chosen One, it would be easy for him to destroy the Xiao family. Senior is really a god. Xiao Kuang couldn't help but bow to Yi Li again. Yi Li stayed in the Xiao clan for a few days and learned from them that the other forces in the northern plains were not very strong, only the tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger race was a supreme force. Senior, it's time to eat. Xiao Yu walked into Yili's room and said to him with a red face. Yili looked at Xiao Yu indifferently and couldn't help but secretly sigh. He thought to himself, don't ask. Xiao Yu must have fallen in love with me. I really don't know what's so good about him. Why are there always so many beauties who like him? The table was filled with delicacies. The food on the table was like the stars in the night sky, and Yili's appetite was like the sea and rivers. After eating well, Yili looked at Xiao Yu. Take a walk with me. Xiao Yu was stunned. She obviously didn't expect Yili to say such a thing. All right. Xiao Yu stammered in excitement. Then, Yili and Xiao Yu walked out of the protection city. Senior, there are many zombies and ferocious beasts outside the protection city. There's also the dark race. We usually don't leave the protection city, Xiao Yu said to Yili. At this moment, the two of them arrived at an abandoned village. There were bones on the ground, looking extremely terrifying. Hee, human. Suddenly, a green python that was dozens of feet long appeared in front of Yili and Xiao Yu. Qing Mang. Xiao Yu looked at the green python that was dozens of feet long and could not help but take a few steps back. Her eyes were filled with shock. Yili looked indifferently at the large green python in front of him. It was a Tier 1 master-level snake. I didn't expect to meet two humans here. I'm really lucky. Qing Mang smiled proudly. Xiao Yu glanced at Yili and realized that Yili's face was as calm as water. Seeing this, Xiao Yu was relieved. Senior. Yun Man called out to Yili. Yili smiled. Do you believe that I can kill him with my eyes? Xiao Yu was shocked. Looking at the evil smile on Yili's face, she was actually speechless. Killing this giant green snake with his eyes? Seriously? However, Xiao Yu didn't say it out loud. She knew that if she said it out loud, it might make Yili unhappy. What an arrogant human. Qing Mang naturally heard Yili's words and could not help but feel a little displeased. Yili ignored Qing Mang's words and slowly activated the heavenly spirit eyes. Chapter 744, The Place with the Most Zombies in the Northern Plains. Continue reading on Zenvel. Yili activated the heavenly spirit eyes and a terrifying white spiritual light flew towards Qing Mang. Qing Mang was only at the Tier 1 master level, so how could he withstand the attack of the heavenly spirit eyes? There was only one end for him, and that was death. All of a sudden, Qing Mang Li let out a blood-curdling scream. It was so miserable that it made one's scalp go numb. Well, Xiao Yu was shocked when she saw this scene. She thought that Yili was just joking, but from the looks of it, was he still joking? For some reason, she suddenly remembered something Yili said. Don't be shocked forever, because everything I do will shock you for 3 days and 3 nights. Roar! Roar! Suddenly, the zombies' roar entered their ears. Hundreds of zombies appeared in front of Yili. What Yili didn't expect was that the leader of the hundreds of zombies was a mutant zombie. Interesting. Eat these 2 humans. The 6th-tier zombie shouted at the zombies. Immediately, hundreds of zombies pounced on Yili and Xiao Yu as if they had been injected with stimulants. Ever since Yili transmigrated to this parallel world, he had never understood why there were always people who were not afraid of death and came to die. Was it really not good to live? He raised his index finger, and a shocking white spiritual light wrapped around it. Swish! 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 With the sound of countless wind-breaking sounds, hundreds of zombies fell to the ground in an extremely tragic manner. The leading 6th-tier zombie was stunned. He didn't expect the human in front of him to be so powerful. The 6th-tier zombie had already gained intelligence, and it actually knew it should escape now. In the blink of an eye, the 6th-tier zombie fled quickly, its speed reaching the fastest speed in history. Senior, he ran away. Seeing that the sixth-tier zombie was getting further and further away, Yili hurriedly said. However, Yili was unmoved. An evil smile appeared on his handsome face. Senior, are you going to let that zombie go? Xiao Yu asked. Of course, Xiao Yu guessed Yili's thoughts wrongly. He was prepared to use this zombie as bait. Give me your hand. Yili looked at Xiao Yu and suddenly said, Alt? Xiao Yu was shocked. She never thought that Yili would say such words to her. However, other than giving her hand to Yili, Xiao Yu seemed to have no other choice. She really did not dare to reject Yili. Even if Yili asked her to marry him, she did not dare to reject him. The moment Xiao Yu gave Yili her hand, the two of them had already disappeared from the spot. Yili used swift steps to follow the sixth-tier zombies. He wanted to see if these zombies had any base camps. If they did, he would catch them all in one fell swoop. As Yili had expected, there really was a base camp. The place in front of him was actually a modern city. Can you believe it? Yili looked at the abandoned city in front of him. He had already heard the roars of countless zombies, and his face showed an excited smile. Now, his Apocalypse Legion was only 5th-tier Lord-level zombies. Their levels could no longer keep up. It was time to synthesize zombies. Let's go in. Yili looked at Xiao Yu. Senior, Xiao Yu's entire body trembled as if she had encountered something extremely terrifying. Senior, this is the zombie city, the place with the most zombies in the northern plains. Xiao Yu looked at Yili and said in shock. Chapter 745, Crazy Synthesize. Continue reading on Zenvel. Yili smiled to himself. Judging from Xiao Yu's expression, she should be very afraid of zombies. However, I like places with a lot of zombies, Yili slowly said to Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu was stunned. She really didn't know why Yili had such a peculiar habit. Let's go. After saying that, Yili headed towards the zombie city. Before long, Yili and Xiao Yu arrived at the zombie city. Roar! Roar! Dozens of zombies were the first to discover Yili and Xiao Yu. They rushed towards Yili and Xiao Yu without caring about their lives. Swoosh! 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 Dozens of zombies fell to the ground. Yili synthesized all of them into 5 zombies. Yili asked these zombies to lure the zombies over. Senior, what happened just now? Xiao Yu looked at Yili in shock. Nothing, Yili said slowly. Xiao Yu didn't dare to continue asking. Yili took out a box of food from the system space and started eating. Roar! Roar! The 5 zombies attracted hundreds of zombies. Hundreds of zombies pounced on Yili and Xiao Yu without caring about their lives. Swish! 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 Countless sounds of wind breaking could be heard. Hundreds of zombies fell to the ground. Yili synthesized them without hesitation. Yili synthesized hundreds of zombies into 50 level 6 zombies and asked them to lure the zombies. Xiao Yu looked at Yili with her mouth agape. There were no words that could describe her shock at this moment. She had seen the zombies disappear one after another with her own eyes. I didn't expect a human to appear in Corpse City. Suddenly, Yili heard a cold laugh. After that, 4 5th-tier mutant zombies appeared in front of Yili. Xiao Yu looked at the 4 5th-tier zombies and couldn't help but feel a little scared. Come here. Yili crooked his finger at the 4 5th-tier zombies. The 4 5th-tier zombies were stunned. They didn't expect that this human in front of them wasn't afraid of them at all. Human, are you in such a hurry to commit suicide? In that case, I'll fulfill your wish. Then a 5th-tier zombie flew over. Clap! Yili slapped the 5th-tier zombie's face. The 5th-tier zombie was instantly sent flying and fell to the ground without any fighting strength. When the other 3 fifth-tier zombies saw this, they were all shocked. Obviously, they didn't expect Yili to be so powerful. Human, I want you dead. Another 5th-tier zombie roared and rushed towards Yili. The other 2 zombies hurriedly rushed over like ferocious tigers descending the mountain. Slap, slap, slap. 3 more slaps, and the 3 fifth-tier zombies were all sent flying and fell to the ground unconscious. The 4 fifth-tier zombies on the ground were all male zombies. Yili synthesized them into 2 sixth-tier zombies, but he wasn't in a hurry to synthesize them. Instead, he asked them to lure the zombies. Xiao Yu looked at Yili in a daze. If she was still very suspicious before, she was now extremely sure that nothing in this world could stop Yili. A moment later, thousands of zombies were lured over. Roar! Roar! Yili synthesized more than 1,000 zombies into 200 level 5 zombies and continued to let them lure more zombies. Xiao Yu looked at this scene with her mouth agape. She didn't understand why Yili did this. She couldn't understand even if she used all her strength. Chapter 746, 10 Lord-level zombies continue reading on Zenvel. The next day, 200 level 5 zombies came over with tens of thousands of zombies. At this point, Yili couldn't help but smile. He could synthesize tens of thousands of zombies. As for Xiao Yu, she was already frozen like a clay statue. Her face was filled with shock. Senior, there are so many zombies. Xiao Yu was about to cry. She had never seen so many zombies since she was born. Yili smiled faintly. It's more interesting to have more zombies. I was wondering why the zombies in the zombie city were suddenly mobilized on a large scale. There's indeed a reason. Suddenly, a deep voice entered Yili and Xiao Ye's ears. As soon as he finished speaking, 10 Lord-level zombies appeared in front of Yili and Xiao Yu. 10 Lord-level zombies were 10 10th-tier zombies. Lord-level zombies were also called zombie kings. If I'm not wrong, you should be humans, right? A Lord-level zombie looked at Yili and Xiao Yu coldly and said. Xiao Yu was stunned. Was there a need to guess? Wasn't it obvious? Unfortunately, Xiao Yu would never have thought that Yili would say something like that. I'm not a human, Yili said calmly. As soon as he said that, the 10 Lord-level zombies were all stunned. You're not a human. The 10 Lord-level zombies were all stunned. Obviously, Yili looked like a human. If he wasn't a human, what else could he be? Yili was no longer a human. Ever since he swallowed the flame demon pill at the bottom of the pool, he had become a demon. It felt good to be a demon again. I'm a demon. You can call me Demon King Yili, Yili said slowly. Hearing that, the 10 Lord-level zombies were all a little angry. They thought that the human in front of them was really arrogant. Demon? They had never even heard of what a demon was. Human, how did you get the zombies in the zombie city to mobilize? A level 10 Lord-level zombie looked at Yili with confusion and asked. Except for the 200 level 5 zombies, the rest of the zombies were all under the command of 10 Lord-level zombies. Without their orders, these zombies naturally wouldn't rush forward. Yili smiled faintly. You don't need to know anymore. Why? The 10 Lord-level zombies were all curious. Of course, they didn't understand what Yili meant. Because you will soon become the zombies of Demon King Yili. As soon as he said that, the 10 Lord-level zombies immediately became furious. They stared at Yili. Human, I think you just don't shed tears until you see your coffin. Xiao Yu was already extremely frightened, but Yili's face did not change at all, as if nothing had happened at all. I, Demon King Yili, will not cry even if I see my coffin, because I will never need a coffin. Chapter 747, The Tyrant Whale Silver Sun Tigers Came Again. Continue reading on Zenvel. The 9 Lord level zombies were shocked when they saw this. This, the 9 Lord level zombies couldn't believe it. A Lord level zombie fell to the ground just like that. They didn't even see how Yili attacked. Human, you're actually so strong. A Lord level zombie shouted coldly at Yili. Hearing that, Yili smiled calmly, but he didn't want to continue talking nonsense with these zombies. All of you can come at me together. After saying that, Yili crooked his finger at the 9 Lord level zombies. When the 9 Lord level zombies saw this, they were all extremely angry and stared at Yili. Roar. Finally, the 9 Lord level zombies couldn't take it anymore and flew towards Yili. Swish. 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 Several more wind-breaking sounds sounded in Xiao Ye's ears. She hurriedly looked at the 9 Lord level zombies. Then she was so frightened that her soul left her body. The 9 Lord level zombies all fell to the ground. Without a doubt, Yili had synthesized all 10 Lord level zombies. Roar! Roar! At that moment, tens of thousands of zombies rushed over. Yili got the 5 S-tier master level zombies and 200 level 5 zombies to fight these zombies. He couldn't use batch synthesis. If he used batch synthesis, all the zombies he synthesized would probably be dead. A few days later, Yili finally synthesized all the zombies. He got 2 5th-tier Lord level zombies, a male and a female. Yili nodded in satisfaction. With these 2 5th-tier Lord level zombies, the Apocalypse Legion could level up. Senior, you're too amazing. Xiao Yu smiled sweetly at Yili. After interacting with Yili for the past few days, her admiration for Yili was like the endless surging river. Let's go. Yili looked at Xiao Yu. Xiao Yu nodded, thinking that since she hadn't returned to Protection City for a few days, her family should be worried. Immediately, Yili and Xiao Yu headed towards the Protection City. When Yili and Xiao Yu arrived outside the Protection City, they realized that the Xiao family and the Dark Race members were already confronting each other. Tell me, did you kill my clansman? The person who spoke was a tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger. Its aura was fully displayed, and the intense pressure made the genetic warriors speechless. Tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers. Xiao Ye's fair face showed deep fear. As a person from the northern plains, she naturally knew what tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers represented. Yili smiled faintly. He thought that these dozen or so tier 1 Lord level tyrant whale Silver Young Tigers must have come for the shocking spiritual treasure in the Spectre Forest. He had killed 5 tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers in the Spectre Forest. Now, the tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger race was here to settle scores. Senior, what should we do? Xiao Yu looked at Yili carefully. What else can we do? Of course, to walk over, Yili said slowly. Then, Yili slowly walked over. When Yili walked a few steps away, Xiao Yu came back to her senses and quickly followed him. Honorable lords, we really didn't know what had happened. When your noble clansmen came to Spectre Forest that day, everyone from the northern plains had left. Family head Xiao Kuang looked at the dozen or so tier 1 Lord level Overlord whale Silver Young Tigers in front of him in shock. All the genetic warriors present were terrified. They were like ants in front of the tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger. Chapter 748, In fact, the tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers are just ants. Continue reading on Zenvel. The dozen or so tier 1 Lord level tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers laughed coldly when they heard this. Don't worry, none of the genetic warriors north of the northern plains can escape. As soon as these words were spoken, all the genetic warriors in the Protection City were shocked. They looked at the tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers in front of them in horror. Honorable Lord, I beg you to release before Xiao Kuang could finish speaking, he heard a tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger say, "You humans are just ants compared to our noble tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers. Why should I let you go?" All the genetic warriors were terrified. They knew that there was only one outcome for them when facing the tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers: death. The tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers are just ants. Suddenly, a lazy voice entered everyone's ears. When everyone present heard this, their bodies could not help but tremble. They hurriedly looked in the direction of the voice and saw Yili and Xiao Yu walking over slowly. "Senior, you've returned." Xiao Yu was overjoyed. Yili was like their life-saving straw now. Yili walked in front of Xiao Kuang and indifferently looked at the dozen or so Tier 1 Lord-level tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers in front of him. "Human, how dare you say that our noble tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers are ants?" A tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger roared at Yili. Yili smiled lightly. He said slowly, "Isn't that so? That day in Spectre Forest, I killed 5 tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers in an instant." At this point, Yili stopped talking. An evil smile appeared on his handsome face. "Perhaps you tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers can no longer be described as ants, but as dust." "What?" When the dozen over tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers heard this, they all took a few steps back. This was the most arrogant statement they had ever heard since they were born. The genetic warriors looked at each other. Although they knew that Yili had always been extremely arrogant, they did not expect him to be so arrogant when facing the tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers. Upon seeing this, the genetic warriors could not help but feel relieved. "Human, did you just say that you killed 5 tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers in the Spectre Forest?" A Tier 1 Lord-level tyrant whale Silver Young Tiger seemed to have thought of something and looked coldly at Yili. Yili smiled calmly and said calmly, "What's there to be surprised about? It's just 5 small Lord-level tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers." Oh my god! Everyone present froze as if they had been petrified. 5 Tier 1 Lord-level tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers were instantly killed by him. The genetic warriors hurriedly looked at Yili and realized that there was an awe-inspiring aura around him. "Human, your jokes are not nice at all." More than 10 Tier 1 Lord-level tyrant whale Silver Young Tigers all thought that Yili was joking. How could a human kill 5 Tier 1 tyrant whale Silver Young Tigers in an instant? Yili smiled, thinking that no one would believe the truth these days. "Oh right, actually I, Yili, am not Yili. Not human." Not only the more than a dozen Tier 1 Lord-level tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers, but everyone present was also stunned. They looked at Yili in confusion. Yili smiled faintly and looked at the sun in the sky. After a few seconds, he slowly said, "That's right, I'm a demon. You can call me Demon King Yili." "Demon? Demon King Yili." To the tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger and the genetic warriors, this was naturally the first time they had heard of the demon race. Chapter 749, Senior is really a demon king. Continue reading on Zenvel. Demon. The dozen or so Tier 1 Lord-level tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers were all stunned. "Human, I really don't understand why you're still acting mysterious even now." "That's right. As the noblest race in the world, we, the tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers, have never heard of what kind of race a demon is." More than 10 tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers looked at Yili in disdain. Yili smiled faintly. Suddenly, he activated the demonic aura. Demonic aura began to spread in all directions. How could such demonic aura be described with words? What kind of spiritual energy is this? All the genetic warriors felt an ocean-like pressure and were terrified. The dozen or so Tier 1 Lord-level tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers were also the same, looking at the black gas emitted in shock. You're not human." More than 10 tyrant whale Silver Sun Tigers were stunned. Yili smiled. "I've already said that I'm not human. Why don't you believe me?" More than 10 Tier 1 Lord-level Overlord Whale Silver Young Tigers stared at Yili. Human, I don't care what kind of member you are. You will die today. A tyrant whale Silver Sun Tiger said coldly to Yili, you guys are quite cute. I, Demon King Yili, will give you a chance. As long as you disappear within a second, I will let you go, Yili said slowly. When the dozen or so Tier 1 Lord-level Tyrant Whale Silver Sun Tigers heard this, they all couldn't help but laugh loudly. Ha ha ha. The Tyrant Whale Silver Sun Tiger race was an invincible existence in the northern plains, but they actually heard such a joke. Looks like you won't be gone in a second. As soon as he finished speaking, a dragon's cry and a sword's cry sounded in everyone's ears. Everyone present focused their gazes and saw a 5-clawed blood dragon circling above Yili's head. It was really shocking. When he looked at Yili's hand, he realized that a terrifying sword had appeared in his hand. Of course, this sword was the ancient dragon abyss sword. The genetic warriors held their breaths because they realized that as long as they breathed, it was as if they were not breathing air, but killing intent. Human, what kind of weapon is this? How can it be so terrifying? The dozen or so Tier 1 Lord-level Tyrant Whale Silver Sun Tigers were all stunned. This sword is called the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword. It's also a sword that sends you to your deaths. As soon as he finished speaking, Yili raised the Ancient Dragon Abyss Sword high. The entire world seemed to have fallen silent, and time stopped flowing. Everyone present had their eyes opened as wide as they had ever been, their mouths wide enough to swallow an extra-large bowl. Suddenly, the sword fell. Swish! An unparalleled sword light shot towards the dozen or so Tier 1 Lord-level Tyrant Whale Silver Sun Tiger race members. After the sword slashed down, the world was no longer quiet, and time began to pass. Everyone stared fixedly at the scene in front of them, only to discover that the dozen or so Tier 1 Lord-level Tyrant Whale Silver Sun Tigers had all melted into nothingness. This, everyone present took a few steps back. Some even fell limply to the ground. They were really shocked, really too shocked. Senior is really a god. Xiao Kuang couldn't help but mutter to himself. I'm not a god. I'm a demon king. Yili looked at Xiao Kuang and said calmly. Xiao Kuang hurriedly said, that's right. Senior is really the demon king. Chapter 750, Wind Wolf Tribe's Territory. Please reading on Zenvel. Omicron M. The genetic warriors in the protection city froze as if they had been petrified. They were unable to recover for a long time. But, Xiao Kuang suddenly wanted to say something but hesitated. Senior, the Tyrant Whale Silver Sun Tigers are the strongest dark race members in the northern plains, they will not let this go. A few seconds later, Xiao Kuang looked at Yili and said. Yili smiled. He looked at Xiao Kuang and said slowly, do you think that I, Yili, will let it go? What? Xiao Kuang was secretly shocked because they had already guessed what Yili was going to do. Senior wanted to fight the Tyrant Whale Silver Sun Tiger race. Otherwise, he definitely wouldn't have said this. How shocking was this possibility? Huh? Yili suddenly regretted it. He shouldn't have killed all the Tyrant Whale Silver Sun Tigers. He should have kept one to report back. Right, are there any other dark race tribes north of the northern plains? Yili suddenly asked. Xiao Kuang thought for a moment before replying, Senior, they are all small tribes of the dark race. The largest dark race tribe is the Wind Wolf tribe. As soon as the words, Wind Wolf Tribe, came out of his mouth, an evil smile appeared on Yili's face. Then, Yili asked about the location of the territory of the Wind Wolf Tribe and used swift steps to disappear from the spot. Yili arrived at a grassland that stretched as far as the eye could see. There was a stench in the air and the ground was filled with white bones and the corpses of some wild beasts. Boo-hoo! Humans! Yili had just arrived at the territory of the Wind Wolf tribe when a 5th-tier Wind Wolf targeted him. The Wind Wolf tribe members all had wolf heads and human bodies, just like the tyrant whale Silver Sun tigers. Human, do you know that this is the territory of the Wind Wolf tribe? How dare you set foot here? In the eyes of the 5th-tier Wind Wolf, Yili's actions were no different from courting death. Bring me to your leader, Yili said lightly to the 5th-tier Wind Wolf. The 5th-tier Wind Wolf was stunned. He did not expect that not only was Yili not afraid, but he would also say such words. He originally thought that Yili had just entered by mistake. Human, what did you say? I didn't hear you clearly. The 5th-tier Wind Wolf looked at Yili in shock. Yili smiled. Then I'll let you know. As soon as he finished speaking, Yili opened his hand and a wisp of demonic aura burst out from Yili's palm. This was the demonic aura that he had obtained from eating the blazing flame demonic pill. It was not a skill. How could a 5th-tier Wind Wolf dodge the demonic aura at such a speed? The demonic aura landed squarely on his body. What's this? The 5th-tier Wind Wolf was terrified. He followed this terrifying demonic aura towards Yili. The 5th-tier Wind Wolf that was sucked in by the demonic aura could not move at all. He finally knew that he had kicked an iron plate. I said, bring me to see your leader. Is that clear enough? Yili looked at the 5th-tier Wind Wolf evilly. Yes, yes. At this moment, how could the 5th-tier Wind Wolf dare to say no? He knew very well that as long as he said it, there would be no chance of survival for him. After releasing the 5th-tier Wind Wolf, he hurriedly brought Yili to the center of the tribe's territory. More and more Wind Wolves saw Yili. They were all a little shocked, not understanding why this 5th-tier Wind Wolf would bring a human along. Yili and the 5th-tier Wind Wolf arrived outside the Wind Wolf tribe's camp. Sir, let me go in and report. The 5th-tier Wind Wolf looked at Yili respectfully. Although this was the territory of the Wind Wolf tribe, the 5th-tier Wind Wolf knew that he would definitely not be able to dodge Yili's attack at such a distance. He naturally did not dare to act rashly. You're tuning into the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.